Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this class, I'll be teaching you how to make a high collar neckline pinafore with side pockets. It's really a flare pinafore. You can see it has a zipper by the side. You can see how well relaxed this pinafore actually looks with the zipper on one side and two side pockets. As you can see, I'm really in love with the neckline. You can see the neckline looking gorgeous and beautiful. This pinafore is actually gorgeous. You can use it for anything. So if this is what you want to learn, please stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. So to begin this tutorial, we are going to draft our pinafore basic bodies right here. So this is actually different from what we usually do on this channel. Okay, so we are making a pinafore. This is the shoulder line, and I'm using this line as our center front and center back. So we are drafting center back. We are drafting everything together right here. So the measurement we need right here is just our waist measurement from the shoulder line to the waist measurement. So here my waist measurement is 17. So we are using this front length measurement for front and back. Okay, so we are using the front length measurement. So this is how you are going to have from your shoulder to your waist. That is the required measurement. This is your center front. So the first thing we want to do is to impute from the center front. I'm going to impute my shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 15 inches, divided by 2 is 7.5. So by right, I'm supposed to mark my shoulder measurement right here. But because we are making a pinafore, the neckline is not always at the shoulder. You come in by 1 inch and make your mark. I believe you understand this explanation. You come in from your shoulder measurement, divide by 2 by 1 inch. Now for this dress is a pinafore and is a high neckline, so I'll be using 3 inches for it, 3 inches and 3 inches for front. Okay, so that's what I'll be using. I'm making a mandarin collar for it. So here I'm going to connect my front neckline. Then from this point, I will make my shoulder drop right here on this, coming in by 1 inch. That is where I'll make my shoulder drop. Okay, so my shoulder drop here is 1 inch. Can you see that? 1 inch. So we stop at this point. So note that we are making back and front. So since we are making back and front, I'll step down by 1 inch for the back measurements, and then I will connect that neckline measurements, as you can see. So that is how that part is going to look like. So now we'll come down to the waistline. So the first thing we want to create for the waistline is the band. Okay, the band for this pinafore, I'll step off from my waistline by 2 inches. So once I've stepped, I'll create that band. Okay, so I'll create it off the pinafore. So this band is going to be the measurement of your waist divide by 4, because we are going to cut it out. Of course, you see how we are going to do that. So divide by 4, my waist measurement divided by 4 is 9 inches. So I'm working with 9 inches, and this is it. So I'll just go ahead and rule my waist. So this becomes my band. So now on this waistline, I'm going to take the measurement of my bust span. This is my bust span. So once you've gotten your bust span, just go in from your bust span by 1.5. Okay, then from that point you connect your pinafore to that neckline. Can you see? So that is the front pinafore we are going to make use of right here for this dress. So I want you to note that the front neckline is going to be open. Remember, we are attaching a mandarin collar. So now what I'm going to do is to cut out this pattern, which I told you we are cutting out back and front. So the first thing I'll do is to cut out the back. So in cutting out the back, I'll just go through this neckline this way, that way. I'll just cut this way, okay? Then when we get to the front, I will show you the little alteration we are going to make. So let's cut right away. So we are cutting out the band first. And we'll cut on the center front. So like I said, we are cutting the back neckline first. Okay, so once I get there, I'll cut my band. Alright, so now you can see what our pattern looks like. So please ensure you mark the center front for the band. This is the center front and center back. Center front and center back will be on fold. Then for the center back, we are going to cut the center back now on fold. So this is the upper part of the band, okay? So now this is the pattern for front and back. So I'm going to place it on my fabric on fold, both lining and fabric right now. So I'll cut it out. I'm done cutting the back pattern. So you can see I placed both lining and fabric on fold. Okay, so I'm taking up my pattern right now, and you can see how I added my seam allowances. I added 0.5 on the side, on the neckline, on the hem. So I will keep the back piece aside. So when cutting the front pattern, we are going to make little alteration to suit to what we have on the thumbnail. So the little alteration I want to make to suit with what we have on the thumbnail is, first I'll cut out my neckline, okay? So once neckline is cut, can you see? So the next is the alteration we want to make. So this alteration on the waistline by the center front, I'm going to take off 1/2 inch, okay? So that by the time we open, we sew this alteration is going to affect what we have here. So this is what I will do. This is 1/2 inch. I'll put an arrow to it. So this arrow I'm putting here is where we'll start to sew the front, when we start to sew the front, okay? So from that 1/2 inch now, I'll go this way. I'll also take it to another 1/2 inch on the neckline, okay? So I'll just mark out on the neckline. So our collar is not going to be rounded, we will have some space to it. So I'll just come in from here to here by 1/2 inch. So it's going to run straight. So I just trim off, I'm trimming off this, okay? So our new center front and center back will now come in a little more inside. So this alteration is actually optional. That's if you want to go by our alteration, okay? All right, so I've taken this off the 1/2 inch. So what I took off from the center front now is 1 whole inch. So by the time we wear this dress, we'll have 1 whole inch open. So that is the essence of this alteration. So I'll place this pattern now, and I'll cut and add my seam allowances. I've also cut out the front pattern, and I added 0.5, 0.5, 0.5 all around, both to the front and to the back. So I cut my lining and my fabric together. So I have fabric and lining. So I'm going to place them right side, and I'm going to sew the necklines. Can you see? I'm going to sew the at 0.5. I've stitched at 0.5 at the center front. So the next thing I'm going to do is to top stitch. So I'm laying my seams right now on the part of the lining. So I'll go over to my machine and I'm going to sew very close. That is top stitching. I'll do that for. All right, lovely people, so this is what my front pattern looks like. So we have the lining and it has been top stitched. If you look closely, you will see the top stitching line looking nice and beautiful. So the next thing we want to do is to bring in what we have at the back pattern piece, lining and fabric and lining. So I'm going to lay lining. So make sure you hair stay. You can see I hair stayed. So I'm going to pick fabric now and I'm going to sew at 0.5. I'll sew at 0.5. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to pick fabric and I'll lining and I'll sew at 0.5. So that's how I'm going to sew them now. Then I'll be back to show you. So we are done with the neckline. So you can see I've stitched everything, lining to lining, fabric to fabric, and I ironed it out. Okay, so that's how the inner part of your pinafore is supposed to look like. So the next thing we want to do is to close what we have on the sides, and to achieve this, I'll pick up this, can you see? I'll lay them seam line to seam line, and I'll go over to my machine. I'm going to stitch. Can you see how I'm going to stitch it? I'll stitch it at 0.5 this way to the end, the same thing this way to the end. Okay, so once I'm done, I'll also pick up this and this together and I'll sew it to the end, from here to here to the end. So once I'm done sewing, you can see what we have right now. So we are going to turn it to the right side once we are done sewing. So simply lay right side to right side and secure with your pin. Then if I sew down, I'll show you how I turn it. Sewing this side and I'm sewing right, I'm done sewing there. So I just go ahead and put my hands. You can see how I'm putting my hands to turn it to the right side. Can you see? So once I've turned it to the right side, I'll go over to my ironing table. Very important. I'm going to iron the edges. Can you see? I'll give it a very good press, stabilizing with my steam iron. I'll give it a very good press. So once I'm done, I'm going to run a stitch to hold both fabric and lining together. Okay, so I'm going to run a stitch because we are going to sew our mandarin collar here. So you can see that 1 inch gap that we cut off for the front. So the neckline now, we are going to sew our mandarin collar to it. So that's the first thing we are going to do. So I'll be taking the measurement of my collar from end to end. I'm taking the measurement, so you can see how I'm taking that measurement. So whatever I get here, so you have to take this measure. I have 4.5. So whatever I have here, that's what I'm going to use to draft my collar. So there I have 4.5. So I'll 14.5, sorry. So it will be good you take differently, okay, the measurement of what you have differently. Okay, or this is what we can do. This is the shoulder seam line. Can you see? So I place it on that shoulder because this line is the shoulder line. So when I place it on this shoulder, you can see, you can do this to be sure. Can you see what I did? I did this. So please make sure you do this accurately. If you know you cannot do it accurately, simply, this is the back. I'm sorry about that. This is the front, center front, from shoulder to center front. That is what I measured there. So I want to confirm if what I measured with my dress is the same. So here I'll just go ahead and do this. So I have 4 inches for the front, and here I have 4 inches too. So this is the center front. So coming over to the center back, I'll measure everything I have on the center back from shoulder to shoulder and divide it by 2. From shoulder to shoulder. So here I have 6.5. So 6.5 divided by 2 for the back. I have 3.25. So I'll mark 3.25. Can you see? So 4 plus 3.25 will give us 7.25. Then when you times it by 2, we have that 14.5, which we measured all around. So now we are sure we are correct with what we are doing. So I'm going to draft our mandarin collar. So the collar, I'm making use of 1.5 inches collar height, and I'll still measure that 1.5 inches collar height here. The height of my collar is 1.5, so you can also use 1 inch. It depends on what you want to make. So if you want your collar at 1 inch, I think it will be small, that's why I chose 1.5. Okay, so on the center front, I'll just have my line straight and measure 1 inch on the center front. So once I've done that, the next I'll do is to place my ruler on that shoulder line to the 1 inch. So once I've done that, I'm going to tilt my ruler a little inwards, just a little, at an angle of 45 degrees. You can see how I tilted it, and there I'll measure the same 1.5. So I'll just push my ruler this way, I'll take it this way, can you see, and connect. So that becomes my mandarin collar. So I'm just going to place my ruler this way to create that front neckline. Can you see how I'm blending my ruler? I'm blending it from this point to this point to create that front collar line. So this back is going to be on fold. The back is going to be on fold. This is the center back. It's going to be on fold. So I'll simply go ahead and cut out what I have on my pattern. This is my pattern mandarin collar. So I'll place this pattern on my fabric on fold. Can you see? So that is your pattern. So because the human neck is not straight at the front, that is why we have it in this shape. So I'll place this and cut now. All right, people, so now you can see my collar. I folded it on fold on the center back, and I have 2 pieces of it. I added 0.5 inch all around. So now I'm going to make my notch on the center back. Very important, center back. I'll also do the same on top. So this is the upper part of the collar. I'll lay the upper part. I'll go over to my machine now. I'll lay it right side to right side. So I'm going to stitch the upper part. I'm stitching this way at 0.5 till I get to the end. Let me do that like right now. So the next I will do is to turn this to the right side. Okay, so I'll turn it to the right side. So if you wish, you can just flip the part you want to be the lining. If this is the lining, I'll flip it this way and I'll top stitch. That's what I'm going to do. I'll just top stitch, then bring it back to attach to the neckline. So this is what it looks like. So now I'm done top stitching, as you can see now. So these are my top stitches on the part of the lining. So I'll bring in my dress now. So like I said, you have to match seam line to seam line and get the notch. Very important. So this notch is center back notch. So I'm going to sew this this way. We are going to top stitch at the front. Okay, let me keep it this way. Okay, so the top stitching is going to be at the front. Okay, we are going to top stitch on the front piece. So that means I'm going to sew. This is my lining, so please be careful. This is the lining. The fabric is the same, so it might be difficult for you to note that. So my lining part is the part I top stitched. You can see it, which is this part. So that is how the collar is going to look like. Okay, so since it's like this and I'm going to top stitch on this, so I'll now do this. I'll flip this part, which is the lining part, and I'm going to sew the lining part. So I'll sew from center back to this center back. So let me do that. Stitch the lining piece to the fabric. So I'm going to cover it this way, then I'll go ahead and top stitch. Okay, so I'll just fold in 1/2 inch. So before I top stitch, I'm going to secure it with my pins, so it will be easy for me to top stitch. So can you see what I'm doing? That is what I'm going to do on my machine. But I always advise you pin that part before you do that. So I like to come from the notch to notch and fold in 0.5. Can you see? So make sure it relaxes on the seam line. Can you see? It has to relax on that seam line. That's the only way you have it come out well. So I will do the same all over, then I'll sew round. Right now, so you can see my mandarin collar is actually looking very beautiful and neat at the end of the day. So the next thing we want to do now, we want to go over to the down part of this dress. So people, we are done with the upper piece of this dress, so we want to cut the lower piece of this dress. So the lower part of this dress is going to be a 180 degrees flare. So 180 degrees flare, it means that our waist measurement, okay, I'm going to add zipper allowance and I'll add side allowance. Okay, so what I mean is my waist is 36. I'm adding zipper allowance of 2 inches plus side allowance, the other side, of another 2 inches. That is 40 inches. So I'm going to divide 40. I'm dividing 40 by 3.14. So if I do that, I have about 12.2 or 12.25. So I'm going to use that 12.25 now. I've already folded my fabric, so you can see how I folded my fabric. I folded it salvage to salvage. Okay, so I just folded it to the point I want to cut. So I'm cutting my radius at 12.25 and the full length is 28. Okay, so if my radius is 12.25 and the full length of this from the down, that is from my waist to where I want the dress to be, is 28. So I'll just add up them together. 2 plus 8 is 0. Carry 1 here, 40. So the full length is 40.25. So I can ignore the 2.5, the 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to measure from this tip. So you can see I place it on only one fold. That is when you are making 360, you place on only one fold. So I'm going to mark the 40 because I want to cut out the length first. So I'm marking out the 40 now. Can you see? I'll mark the 40. So I'll place it on this point once again. I'll take it to the next line. Of course, you know how we mark it out. I'll take it to the next line and connect to what I have. I'll still place it back there. You can see I place it back there and I move it to the next level. So this is what I'll keep doing. So I've cut out the flare and I'm cutting out the radius right now. I'm also sharing the 180 degrees flare into 2 equal parts because we'll add a pocket. So after cutting out the flare right now, this is my band. I've cut it out. This is 0.5, 0.5. I have this on fold, as you can see. So the next thing I'll do is to take off my pattern and place my notch. My notches at the center this way. So I have this on fold. Okay, I have it on fold. So this that I have on fold, one is for the front, the other is for the lining for the front. So 2 pieces for front and 2 pieces for the back. Okay, can you see? 2 pieces for lining and fabric, 2 pieces for lining and fabric for the front. So I'm going to work on the front bodies right now. Later I'll come over to the back. So this is the front dress. This is the front dress. So note that we have our notch at the center front. So I'll take off this one and I'm going to make mark on the 1 inch or half inch we created. If you remember when we are drafting, from this center line I came out by half an inch, if you remember, and making it 1 inch. So you have to indicate all of this. So it means I'll be sewing this to this. So I'll flip to the 1 inch, to the half an inch. Can you see? I'm not placing it at the center front. Take note of that because of how we drafted it. So I'll secure with my pin at that point, right side to right side, then this one right side to right side. So I'll secure it with my pin also at this point. So I'll go over to my machine now. I'm going to stitch this together. Can you see? I'll first stitch it from end to end, leaving that 1 inch in between. So let me do that. You can see my stitches right now. So this is the 1 inch I told you. So now I'm going to place this. I'll turn it this other way. I'll also match it center front to center front. Then I'll go over and stitch. So I'll follow the stitches right here, the stitches I have here, and sew to this end. Alright, so now I've stitched from beginning now to the end, the both of them. You can see that. So by the time we flip it to this side, this is what we are going to have. Okay, can you see the band? So that's what we are going to have. So now for this other part, I will come back with my, I'll always create the notch at the center. So try and create the notch at all times at the center like this. So once you have done that, you come up again with this, place it this way. This time around I'm going to place the both together and stitch them at once. It saves more time. Okay, so I'll stitch them, hold them, I can secure them with my pin all through, and so let me. So now I've sewn the back. Can you see? So that is what the back looks like from end to end. Can you see that? So now the next thing I'm going to do, this is the back. I'll pick up the back skirt piece which we cut. So this is my skirt piece for the back. Can you see? So I'll go ahead and make a notch at the center point. So I'll create a notch, then I join them to from notch to notch. I'm going to join. Okay, so now this is the front I'm going to top stitch on top of it. So since I'm top stitching the front on top of it, I'm going to sew the lower part right side to right side, starting from notch. So I'll sew it to the end now, then I'll come back to top stitch this. So you can see I've stitched the front parts, the back piece, just like I told you. I've stitched it to the first band. So I'm going to flip this way, and on the notch I'll fold in 0.5. okay, secure with my pin. I'm going to run my top stitches now. Okay, so I'll run my stitches very close after securing with my pin. All right, so now I'm done with the band. Okay, so I'm done top stitching the lower piece of this band. So you can see what our pinafore looks like right now. It's actually looking beautiful. So the next thing we want to do now is to place the pocket. So to place the pocket right now, we are going to first cut out the pocket. So to cut out the pocket, I come with my I have my fabric. I have 2 pieces of it because I don't really have enough. Instead, you are supposed to have 4 pieces because we have right and left back, 2 pockets. But I'm creating this for 1 pocket, then I'll place it on the other fabric and cut. So now for this pocket, I will, at this edge that is folded, I'll come down by 1 inch, and from that 1 inch I'll come have my pocket opening at 7 inches. So I'll just place my hand. Can you see how I slanted my hand? So I'll just follow the trace of my hand to form the pocket. So I'll bring it back. Okay, so you see how I slanted it. So make sure you have your slanting that way. Okay, so that is how the pocket is going to look like. So now I'll come from this and I'll cut out the pocket to that 7 inches. Okay, so that is the shape of the pocket, and this is the pocket opening. So the pocket opening is 7 inches. Okay, from here to here, 7 inches. So I'll use this to cut out another before we. So I've cut out my pocket right now, and I'm measuring 1 inch below my band to attach the pocket. All right, so it's time for us to sew this pocket, and I really want to show you how to go about the side of this dress that has the zipper and the pocket. So you have to face your fabric the way your dress the way I'm facing it. This is the center front, which is the front part of this dress. So I'm going to pick this down part. You can see the down part, and this is the notch I made for my pocket. So I'm going to flip this, and I'm sewing only on this. Okay, so I come in with my pockets. So I'll come in with my pocket right now. So this is my 2 pockets. This is my two pockets. So I'll pick one of my pocket now. So you can see this is the upper part. The part that is slanting down is the part you are going to fix on the upper part. So that part, I'm going to match right side to right side of the front dress. Then I'm going to sew from that notch of my pocket. So I really want you to pay attention. So I'm going to sew and I'll back stitch. So once I'm done with that one, the next thing I'll do is to open up this pocket, okay, which I've stitched now. I'm going to open it up, spread it open. You can see how I'm spreading it. So once I spread it open, I'm going to bring the other side of it, and I'm going to match it up. Can you see how I match it up, leaving the seam allowance. Okay, so the seam allowance on this part, I'll leave it all the way. So I'll just make sure I match everything before I sew. So I'll leave the seam allowance. I'm not going to sew from the seam allowance. So I'm going to sew now, following the shape of the pocket. I'll sew. So when I return back here, I'll still leave my seam allowance. Can you see? I stopped at the seam allowance. This is the seam allowance, so I'll just stitch and leave the seam allowance. Okay, so I will now top stitch. All right, so you can see what I have right here. This is the seam allowance we left. So the next thing I'm going to do now, see what I'm going to do. I'll flip this pocket this way and have this seam allowance I left. I'm going to sew my zipper this way, okay, from the beginning till I get to the end of the pocket. So I'll be using a longer zipper to achieve that, because a shorter zipper will not be able to give us that. This is what I have for short zip. I'm sewing my zip from beginning to end, so it's not actually covering up to the pocket parts. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and use my longer zipper. So this is my zipper now, and I've already changed my presser foot. So this is how the zipper is going to be. I'll flip it this other way, and I'm going to sew my zip from beginning to the end. So I'll just come very close this way. You can see how I folded this part in. So at the end of the day, everything goes this way. So I'll just go ahead and sew my zip. So you can see the pocket, the outer part of the pocket now. That is where I'm going to sew the zip. Can you see? So I lift up the pockets and bring in the zip or the seam allowance. So this is the pocket. Can you see that? With the seam allowance. So I'll just stop at the end of that pocket. Okay, just like you sew your zip. So I'm just trying to open this up a little bit so I don't have any squeeze in there. So I just want to bring it closer for you to see what we have in the pocket, so, and the zipper. So you can see the pocket, you can see the zipper. So now we have this part of the zipper to sew into this other part. So you know how we normally do that. So but before I sew into that part, I would like to sew the down piece. Okay, so I'll go to my machine now and complete the down piece. Okay, so I'll just shift this and bring in my right side to right side and sew down. So once I sew, I will now have opportunity to complete this to the zipper. I believe you understand. So let me do that. So now I'm done sewing my zipper. So you can see my zip. So I just top stitched on top as we usually do in our zip. So this is my zip. You can see my zip, and I have my pocket. Can you see? So that is the technique to sewing this kind of pocket. So I'll go over to this other side to sew my pocket. So this side I still have it unsewn. So I'll bring my pocket again, and I'm going to pick up right side. Then I'll step down by 1 inch, just exactly what I did in the other side. That's what I'm going to do. So from here I'll still come down by 1 inch. Then I'll make my notch and start sewing my pocket right side to right side. I'll sew, flip open for both hand side, and sew round. So I've closed the other side of the pocket. So thank you for coming. See you in the next class.